What were the reactions of the people who attended?
We have had varied reactions, Hayes. Some young people said it wasn't long enough. Other young people said it was a wonderful time. And some said, well, we shouldn't have been paired with kids who were so much older than we were. Some of the adults said that they had just never been in a place like that. And then some young people were just glad to be able to be around different kinds of young people. For many of them, this was the first time that they had had that kind of free feeling with children from all different walks of life.
What obstacles did you have to overcome?
Probably the biggest one was people who felt that maybe this was not a part of ministry. And since I'm a pastor, I had to answer that question. And I felt that it was indeed a part of the ministry that we do at Webster, because it was an opportunity for us to reach out to so many different kinds of people and to bring them together with a theme of peace. And that, to me, is good ministry.
There was great diversity among the participants. Was that a conscious choice?
Absolutely. We went all over Washtenaw County. We went as far as we could go. We got as many different kinds of people as we could. We wanted to make sure we had Hindus and Jews and Christians. We wanted to make sure we had African Americans and Indians and Hispanics and Caucasian young people. We wanted to make sure we had all kinds of young people there. And then we wanted to make sure we had all kinds of people who may or may not have had disabilities. We wanted to make sure we had that so that we could really say that we had a diversity of young people from around Washtenaw County. And I think it worked.
Thank you, Pastor Gill. Again, let's head to the Bailey Youth Forum.
Imagine, if you can, being in a family of 250 people. And then imagine, if you can, being at a meeting here Saturday morning with 250 people and dealing with the kind of peacemaking, creative work that had to go on in that family. They weren't all there at one time, but at many times there were 14, 15 people there, am I right? That takes a lot of creativity to be peaceful in numbers of people like that. And so that's really what we're hearing this morning, is echoes of that creativity and echoes of that peacemaking ability that we need to draw on to inspire us this morning to think about some important things that we need to think about in this day and age and in our society. Thank you for coming and helping us do this work.
The Bailey Youth Forum had 12 different workshops for young people. The discussions were led by psychologists, teachers, and other professionals. All the group topics focused on abolishing violence and creating peace. They included the media, sports, religion, and many more. The youngest of the children worked on crafts, including a peace quilt. The remaining children and adults were involved in a town hall meeting.
James Baldwin wrote in one of his books that children have never paid much attention to what their elders have said, but they never fail to imitate them. And that is very true, that the words of hate touch children initially and move them for the rest of their lives unless there's intervention. I've been in the juvenile court, which is now the family division of the circuit court in Michigan, but it was for many years, for 100 years, the juvenile court. And I've been on that bench for 10 years. And the work that we do is to try to help youngsters identify their own strengths, realize their own strengths, and the same with their families around them, and to make changes so that they won't get back into criminal trouble again. And that's our mission, and to try to do that with them at home rather than in remote places. And we are very dedicated to that at the court in Washtenaw County. My predecessors were, and I am. And one of the most gratifying things that happens is when youngsters come back to the court or see you on the street or someplace in public, and they remember the benefit that they had from what happened at the court. Well, that's what happened today. A couple of young people came up to me and said, "You probably don't remember me. This happened 5 or 6 years ago, but I was in front of you and you listened to me, or you were understanding, or you understood why a kid would do something that might look like a crime, but that a kid doing it might just be kid stuff. And you gave me an appropriate lecture or talking to, gave me respect, and the people in the court were the same way, and now I'm doing this, that, and the other. I am in graduate school. I've finished my Marine Corps training. And this is pulling from a couple of stories, not just the ones today, but this happens frequently, and it's very gratifying, and it's gratifying to the ego to know that you're helping and that you're making the next generation that much stronger. But it's also gratifying to know that your society and your community is benefiting so much from the work that we do. A form of violence that we are seeing more of in the court as the years go on, and that is children assaulting their parents, and there are various underlying reasons for that. But it's becoming a more prevalent offense and charge in the court. And it's troubling, but it's consistent with everything else that we see, that the more things happen, the more things are seen by children, the more permissible it becomes, the more allowable it becomes to do something. And so adults have to say, this is not allowable. This is where we draw the line. And children want the guidance and leadership, even though they may turn their heads away. When we give it, we know that somewhere down the line they're going to say, I'm doing this because I got a message about this when I was 12 or 11 or 7, and draw back on that lesson. It is very important, the lessons that we as adults, whether as individuals, parents, teachers, other people working with children, just people in the community, or people presenting entertainment to children. It is very important what we say and what we show.